Hey guys, what's going on? So, let's get right into it. So, because humans operate within the parameters of labels in how they categorize and minimize the stimuli, the overstimulation of the world that we live in today, because we operate within labels, we're just gonna have to, get into them, not dissecting them completely, but just a couple things that beg attention right now and aren't going to ever be talked about in mainstream media. So, one thing I found out about the internet and YouTube and Instagram and Tumblr and all these things, they can be utilized for knowledge and information passing back and forth. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are dropping out of this Hollywood hypnosis and other things. And it's mysterious to me why people are still in it. They say only 20% of the population is actually critical thinkers. The rest go along with the herd. I'm not sure how accurate that is, and how long that will last, and stay. How that pattern will stay around in this modern day technology and this age of consciousness, if you will, the new age of enlightenment, of spirituality. But let's just get into it, okay? So I'm gonna talk about Satanism in the industry, just break it down a little bit, and then come around to a lighter kind of maybe solution to this, because I don't think solutions are talked about enough. In news, you just hear arguments and pointing of the fingers. The liberals are pussies. The conservatives want guns, and nothing ever gets solved. It's just political agendas to divide the nation and scare the shit out of them and distract them even more. So, we become passively complacent with this reality that has been manufactured and fabricated for these humans that, have been suppressed of their memories, essentially, of who we are, mankind. So much of history has just been deleted and burned. And, the Library of Alexandria, which I think Constantine of Rome in the 300 AD, you can fact check that one. But one of the emperors of Rome, burned all the thousands and thousands of scrolls in Alexandria pointing to much of our past. But it's an indicator, and this has happened multiple times, and you see how much the Bible, the New Testament, has been warped and changed over time to fit. You can see a political agenda in there. Then you start to realize, well, something went on. And from my studies, there was a clear interference with humanity around the time of ancient Sumer. Ancient Egypt should be studied heavily and researched independently, because it lasted thousands of years. They got some things right. And I think it's really foolish that just because one hasn't experienced, seen, or felt things that possibly have been written about and happened in the past, does not mean that they did not happen. I think it's extremely silly. Look, I'm not religious, but I've studied all of them independently, in mythology and all these connections, all pointing to the same things. So I think it's really silly to divide and say one religion is better than the other. Islam is clearly a very violent and destructive religion, because it breeds more violence than it does peace. I think we can at least agree on that. But I think at the basis, these prophets that have been, that stuck around, and those that aren't completely astrologically, their stories aren't of complete astrological significance and have more literal history in them. So I think just because one doesn't think Jesus could have walked Yeshua, the black man, the prophet, Sermon on the Mount, who they think didn't walk on water, perform miracles, or come back from the dead. Look, I think a lot is up for debate, because the coming back from the dead, the 3 days, the resurrection, has a lot to do with the winter equinox and the astrology, and the three kings had to do with Orion's belt and the North Star and all of these things. But if you dissect it, walking on water, all these, walking, in the fish, Pisces. Sorry, I'm ranting really fast through this, but I want to get to the point where, so say Jesus did walk on water, and say he was the Son of Man, okay, just for a second. Why would we think, hundreds of years ago, they would have thought technology like this didn't exist. Why not thousands of years ago? Could people just, or a prophet not have come from some other realm to be the truth and the light to all of this insanity and war and destruction. And Noah's Ark, why couldn't one, build a boat that big? Knights of Templar, all these boats were. So I think it is extremely silly to just say, oh, it didn't happen. Well, fucking why not? Were you there? God doesn't exist, only science does. Well, let me say one thing to the atheistic argument. So prove it is their biggest argument. How could a God let my mother and sister die? Well, one thing I want to say is that humans have free will. It's a given at this point. Humans have free will just as much as men and women are biologically clearly different. Okay. So we can do as we please, and we enter the universe with the same. We start at zero, not economically and all of these financial problems, but we are all given a chance to do the best we can, spread love and help others out, and have as much fun as we can on this journey. Okay, but chaos in nature is just apparent, and it's eventual, it's perpetual, and it never stops. So if one dies, and God's master plan, you might say, you could say the universe, if you zoom out. See, I just replaced the word God with universe, Krishna, all of these archetypal manifestations that humans have told stories of for thousands of years. I think humans at their pinnacle, highest point, are transmitters of love. And that's maybe, creative transmitters of love, for we are creators. Having said that, I don't even know what I was getting into completely on all of that. But one thing I want to return to in light of the Oscars, and I didn't watch it, but I heard a lot of liberal preaching. And the thing is, when you hear all that coming from all mainstream, except for maybe Fox, but they're not very good at dissecting it because they have an agenda clearly too. Just not as intelligent, I don't think. The liberal agenda is it's very useful right now. It's pointing the finger and labeling very quickly. The biggest problem is men with penises. It's Jimmy Kimmel, is what he said last night. I saw on a quick clip. So what he's saying basically is men are the problem. And if you think, women aren't being mistreated, then you're a fucking asshole and you're a bigot. So, obviously men don't think rape is good. So I don't understand who they're arguing with. But they went from, the Me Too movement, which didn't last, to just nothing last night. Nothing happened. It was just, I don't know. So, let's just say this, okay? Let me get back to the Satanistic qualities of this industry in Hollywood. So something that Jay-Z wore on one of his interviews, I remember a long time ago, and they took a picture of it. It said, "Do what thou wilt," on his sweatshirt. Now, that's something Aleister Crowley said in the 60s, I believe, 50s maybe. He was the most influential Satanist of today. Anton LaVey really brought it to the Western Hemisphere and gave it a name. But, so what was his name? God. Oh my God, I just forgot his name. Not Anton LaVey, but God, the other one. Whoever I just said 2 seconds ago. Aleister Crowley, he was an infamous occultist and, drug addict, sexual deviant. But one thing he wrote was do what thou wilt, among many other things. Hold on one second. So, the biggest thing that, he said was do what thou wilt. So what basically that means is what a lot of Satanists believe, and Luciferians, and what Lucifer said in the Bible is that I will grant you all the wishes and the riches in the world, follow me, and essentially things like that. But, these people think they're gods in Hollywood, the elites and the industry. And one of the things I've been researching they're trying to do is learn how to transfer consciousness, essentially so they don't have to die. These people are obsessed with becoming immortal. I promise you. I mean, check this shit out. It's funny to me how people can't, expand their minds and say, well, how much are they not telling us? And then do research about it out of curiosity and passion. Most people don't think they have the time. Give an hour to research and you will just start walking around in life just knowing a bit more and not looking at everything as pure chaos. So having said that, Satanists, basically Luciferians, believe that they are gods, and basically they can manifest anything in, in their reality if they put, if essentially they're psychopaths and sociopaths and have no human morals. So they basically view the world as a complete pyramid and a hierarchy, and to jump forward and up and across and manipulate, and all these secret societies, and I'm not talking about the Illuminati, because I think that's a way, more respectful, admirable term for them. They're not the illuminated or enlightened ones like Buddha, Jesus, Gandhi, and all these people, or Malcolm X, Dr. King. No, they've just suppressed information that humans probably wrote in the first place and discovered. These people are not creative. And one thing that Satan said he was the great deceiver, which is what these people are. And that's the difference between them and us. I think we are inherently good and loving beings, and we do not wish for violence on others at all. Could you conceive sending your child to war to kill other children? No, but we've been, hypnotized and put in this trance that, patriotism and nationalism, infers that, if some other nation is like, going against their religion or their beliefs, or they're doing this or doing that, and they create a false flag terrorist kind of group, fringe group or whatever, then we must go over there and exterminate them. So my last thing I'll say is that, I think I've ranted about this before, is that if you analyze Nazi Germany and the Third Reich, I want you to come back to me and argue with me, and I'll have a debate about this, how America is no different from the Third Reich. We are merely cuter,